Hello everyone, welcome you all. Myself Aishwarya, I am a dysphagia specialist from Remedy International Education. So as of all are aware, we are at the mid of the pandemic of COVID-19, one of the most public health hazards which has left all of us in the state of fear. Gradually, we are still learning how to deal with COVID waves and living with them. So between this, there is another outbreak in India, that is Nipah virus. So the Nipah virus is making news again after a death of 12-year-old kid in Kerala due to the brain infections. Nipah virus remains as a concern not just in India but entire world. Even the WHO, World Health Organization, classifies it as a virus of concern for future epidemic too. To know more about Nipah virus, to understand better, to avoid misinformation, we have Dr. Anup Warrior, who is a lead consultant of infectious disease, Aster DM Healthcare. Welcome you, sir.
Good evening, all.
Yeah, sir. So can we know, sir, what is Nipah virus?
Yeah, well, so Nipah comes under a group of viruses called as Hepnidae virus, which includes a couple of other viruses named Hendra virus, etc., which is more common in Australia and other countries. So it comes under a group where it is called as a zoonotic infection, meaning it is capable of jumping from animals onto humans and cause human infection. Okay, so we need to remember that it comes under a group of viruses. There are other viruses like Hendra, which are seen in other parts of the world, and that it is a zoonotic infection, meaning it can jump from animals to humans.
Okay, sir. So what are its origins, sir? Nipah virus origin?
So in human infection was sort of initially identified as early as 1999 when we had the first global outbreak in Malaysia. So it started as when the virus jumped the species from pigs, infected pigs, onto the pig rearers or pig farmers in Malaysia. And similarly, there was an outbreak in Singapore also. So in the early outbreaks were primarily limited to Southeast Asia, where Malaysia and Singapore were the sites, and primarily the source was the pigs that time. Later outbreaks used to happen in Bangladesh and then in few parts of West Bengal in India also. And these outbreaks were different because here the source was in fact the fresh palm juice from the palm trees, which was contaminated with the body fluids like saliva, etc., of the bats. And people used to consume this palm sap or palm juice at that time, fresh, while it was still contaminated with the bat fluids, and hence they got this. There were also very short or small outbreaks which resulted in and around hospitals also in this Bangladesh setting. And then we know that in this 2017-18, there was the first Nipah outbreak in Kerala. And that was probably one of the outbreaks which the maximum mortality, because about 90% or so of people died in that. And it was also different because here the maximum number of people who got it were actually from hospital setting. So it was a nosocomial outbreak of Nipah, where patients were admitted in the same ward, people who shared a waiting area with the patient while he went for a CT brain. So these were the people who were maximum affected and who died also. So just to summarize and reiterate, it started as early as 1999 in Malaysia, Singapore. There, primarily a disease of the farmers spreading from infected pigs onto the people who deal with pigs. Then in West Bengal and Bangladesh, primarily, where it was source was the date sap, fresh date sap contaminated with the bat fluids. And then the Kerala outbreak, where it was predominantly nosocomial or in the hospital setting.
Okay, sir. So what are the incidents and prevalent of Nipah virus, sir? And it is why so prevalent in Kerala?
Okay, so a couple of things. So because this is it's not an endemic virus as of now, and right, it happens sporadically and it has happened in outbreaks. Yes. So we will not be able to quote on incidence and prevalence because these are for diseases which sort of happen on an endemic sort of thing. So this has happened very, very sporadically on an outbreak, and that also only since last 3 years in Kerala. And much before that, it was in West Bengal, as I mentioned, Bangladesh and
yes, sir.
West Bengal. They used to have outbreaks. So The only this thing is that the last outbreak in Kerala is an outlier, and because as I mentioned before, it was a nosocomial transmission where 18 people who out of 2021 who were suspected, 18 confirmed, and there was majority of death also in that. So it is little, it's an outlier compared to the rest of the outbreaks, right? Not from animals, not from plant sap. It was primarily human to human transmission, and that also nosocomial. So Kerala per se is not predisposed because the host, which in this setting, the Indian setting, both West Bengal and Kerala, which was the fruit bats, is seen in most parts of the country. So the fruit bats, which in which this has been documented, is seen in most parts of the country. So the interaction per se is where you have an opportunity of coming in contact with bats or bat fluids. So that may happen when people take contaminated fruits with this, which is contaminated with the saliva of the bats, or obviously the palm sap, which I described earlier. So in Kerala, the outbreak was suspected to be from a contaminated fruit, okay, but the source was never proved irrefutably. Okay, so the virology studies confirmed that there is Nipah among the bats in Kerala, but they have still not demonstrated irrefutably the link between the bat and the human. So how that jump happened, like in West Bengal and Bangladesh, where we showed that it is from the infected plant sap. In Kerala, the theory is that it could be from infected fruits or contaminated fruits, but they were not able to demonstrate virus in all the samples of different fruits and the environmental samples which they took. Okay. So I would not go on to state that Kerala has a higher prevalence or it is more common. No, because as I told you, it's just one outbreak. And in the other two outbreaks, that is 2019 and then 21, which we had this year, all of them are single case, just one case. So in Ernakulam 2019 also, it was just one case, which was in our hospital, which we managed. And the 2021, which is again one of our hospitals in Calicut, which managed that, there's only a single case, no outbreak at all.
Okay, sir. Is there any possibilities of human to human transmission, sir, or from animal to human transmission? How does it spread from animals to human or humans to human?
So both are possible and both have been demonstrated. So as I was mentioning, the earlier were animal to human, right? So from pigs in Malaysia and Singapore, and then from bats to humans in West Bengal and Bangladesh. So the virus is carried in all the body fluids of these animals. So the bat excretes this in bat urine, in bat saliva, etc. So the most commonly the palm sap was the most proven contact or transmission, because they actually showed that virus exists within that. It can multiply or stay alive in this plant for a long time. Similarly, it has been shown to survive on over fruit juices and the ripe fruits, etc., for 3 to 5 days. So contaminated ripe fruits which are bitten or by the bats, and then you inadvertently sort of
consume
that. So that is another thing. From human to human transmission, it is considered to be a contact plus droplet bond, meaning it requires close contact with the affected individual for prolonged duration of time for you to actually acquire it. So all the body fluids demonstrate this virus. So the PCR shows the virus in the saliva, in respiratory tract, in urine, in semen, in stool, blood, serum, everywhere. So all the body fluids are potentially supposed to be capable of transmission. However, looking at the older outbreaks, what it has been shown is that 2-3 factors affects the ability of a person to transmit to another person. So one is a preponderance of respiratory symptoms. So Nipah encephalitis is a disease where along with the brain involvement, you have the lung involvement also. So patients who have predominantly lung involvement have a lot of respiratory symptoms like cough and respiratory distress, etc. They bring out copious amount of things which may transmit as droplets like influenza, and people who are in close contact may inhale them, and then they may develop the disease. Similarly, the family members and the nursing staff, etc., who has to give very close contact to give care, medical care or other standard care to these patients, be at home or in the hospital, they also may come into contact with body fluids. And if you don't follow the standard precautions, meaning you don't use your hand hygiene, you don't wear a glove before touching the fluids, you don't wear a gown before you do the procedure,
Touching the
so
affected
then
people.
also you are correct.
So, okay, sir. So, what are its symptoms, sir? Symptoms of Nipah virus?
So predominantly it is considered under the heading of acute encephalitis syndrome. So meaning you have a sudden abrupt onset of fever with some features suggest your brain involvement. So what are those features? You have significant headache, you have disorientation, and then you go on to progress to develop seizures, right? So you have headache, disorientation, and seizures along with high grade fever. Some of them have autonomic disturbances where they have fluctuations in their blood pressures or in their heart rates. Very late, they may even develop strokes. The MRI shows some of the typical features. The involvement of the respiratory tract or organ system is supposed to be typical. So these people tend to have a influenza-like illness where they have sore throat and cough, and later they may progress to frank pneumonia and something called as an ARDS, where lung is so bad that fluid fills up the lung and you need to go on to a ventilator.
Okay, sir. Sir, in which population it will be more affected, sir? It's in adult or pediatric or geriatric?
So if you look at the outbreaks, mostly these have been in the younger group, and we had people from, especially with the nosocomial transmission, where the household members who are elderly also were affected. So from the age wise, it does not have a specific affection, because depending upon whether it is animal to man or man to man, whether it is nosocomial or whether it is household contact, it can affect all age groups. So we have children and we have elderly also.
Okay, sir. Sir, is Nipah virus is really very deadly pandemic, sir? It is more serious?
Right. So if you look at the two things, we look at the fatality, the case fatality, that means the chances of dying if somebody has Nipah, and you look at the transmission rate, the chance of one person spreading it to how many people. So in these two things, if you look at it, if you look at the fatality, it is quite serious, because the fatality rate vary from in various outbreaks, starting anywhere from 40 to 45% to as high as 90 to 95%. Okay? So that means 1 in 4 to 1 in 9 will actually die.
Yes, sir.
1 in 10, 4 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 would actually die if they get Nipah. Okay, so it's an extremely fatal disease, extremely bad disease to have. So that's taken. But when you come down to the transmission, it does not seem to be as transmissible. The present strain or whatever strain has happened in the last 2 years in Kerala and all does not seem to be as transmissible as a respiratory virus, because if you look at the corona delta strain, the R0, or the number of people a single person might transmit is 7, right? So one person may transmit it to 7 people. While for the Nipah, if you look at the reviews with all the outbreaks put together, it is less than 0.5. Just about 0.33 or 0.4. So that means it is not as easily transmissible as a respiratory virus like influenza or COVID. So the potential to have widespread transmission is limited. So as of now, the transmissions have been animal to man contact, which we can easily address. And then it is nosocomial transmission through very close and prolonged contact. That also we should be able to address with standard precautions and PPs. So it's not an airborne as of now. Okay, so it may change, the variants may evolve, but whatever the last couple of years, what we have seen is that the only what you call outlier, as I mentioned, was the 2018 outbreak in Kerala, where 18 to 20 people were affected with, as I told you, with exposure in the hospital setting, where they had shorter duration, because some of them just shared the waiting area in a CT scan area and all, but still they managed to get the disease. So that strain was a bit virulent or more dangerous.
Yeah, sir. So how watchful should be one, sir? How should we prevent? How should we take care?
So we need to keep in mind that there are only potentially two ways you get it. So you get it either from an infected fruits, which could be contaminated with the bad secretion saliva. So when damaged, bitten fruits, etc., we should definitely avoid. We obviously disinfection, etc., is not feasible or practical to think of. So the best thing is to avoid damaged or fruits which
not to take
be bitten by fruit. Also peel the skin. Okay, so to discard and peel the skin. From human to human transmission,